All right. Well, thank you today for joining me on My Therapy Hat.
You're welcome.
Oh, thanks.
I'm Micah.
Hi, Micah. I'm Christy. We're here today we have Finnegan joining us, my beautiful little cat that you may or may not hear.
Oh, you didn't hear him last episode.
No, he was here the whole time. We don't have a babysitter for him, so
No.
he gets to join us today. This topic did come up in a couple different therapy sessions over the past couple weeks, and it's failure. People I've learned, myself included, I would have to say that in the past, in my journey to emotional wellness,
Yeah.
I have been afraid to fail. And when I say that, like when I first started therapy, I was working on my bachelor's, and your dad and I were going through a lot of stuff, and I was afraid to go in and tell my therapist, who I've had for well over a decade at this point. I was afraid to tell her where I was failing or where I needed help or how not good I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I had to really learn to be vulnerable and learn that failure was part of learning. And so I would go in and I would tell her, all the positives, all the good things, and I would give these reports. And she brought that up to my attention one time. She said, you really waste your therapy hour, which is 53 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You really waste this time by not being open and honest with me.
Yeah.
And that kind of hurt my feelings, but she is very, very direct with me because that's what I need, because I'm, hard-headed.
You're also direct.
I am. I'm direct, and I'm hard-headed. I'm stubborn. I'm all the things.
That's how I am as well.
So when she said that, I thought, oh, shoot. I am afraid that if I show her the vulnerable sides of me, the parts of me that are scared, the parts of me that feel like a failure, the parts of me that are insecure, I'm afraid she's not going to like me.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Your therapist doesn't have to like you as a best friend.
No. They're not your best friend.
I'm not your best friend.
No.
I am your support.
Yeah.
I am your guide. I'm there.
It's a safe place.
This is how I explain it to people. You walk in and you automatically hand me your heart.
Yeah.
I'm holding this live beating heart in my hand. Now, what I do with that is up to me.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to keep it pumping, keep it going. But when you walk out, I have another client coming in.
You throw that heart away and you grab their heart.
No. I put it away for you for the it's there. It's got your name on it. But I'm not, and I'm there. I hold your history just like she holds my history.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not there to go through your life with you. I'm not there to go into your everyday situations. I'm there for you to take the words that we talk about, these types of things. So I had to learn, as I hope that my clients learn, that failure is a part of learning.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to fail. And so I do explain to my clients that I have failed so many times in communicating. I have failed so many times in addressing a situation. I have failed so many times in managing my anger. I have failed over and over and over. But each time that I fail, I have to pay attention to what the lesson was.
Yeah.
What did I miss? What opportunities did I just pass by? What process didn't I go through? What steps didn't I take? What am I still hanging on to? These are all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start doing that, and when you start going through life learning that failure is a part of learning, you start looking
and a
part of life. It just really is. Like, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You're going to fall. You got to get back up. You got to brush your low self off and go.
A lot of people are scared of that, especially with social media nowadays, where it's like you perceive everyone as not failing at all. And so it's hard for people to be like, well, how am I going to follow their footsteps, and also because foreseeing in the future, you're gonna see failure at some point. You're like, well, okay, how am I gonna do what they do, but then also fail at the same time because they haven't? And it's like, well, they have. They're just not showing you that they have. And you just have to kind of own up to the fact that everyone fails.
Everybody fails.
Yeah. It's just a matter of what you do with the failure to help you succeed on your path to success.
Well, and that leads me to my next point. Like when I was in my internship, and now that's a lengthy process, and it's like going through boot camp.
It's a process I'm so excited for.
Oh, well, good luck. I have colleagues that were just like, man, it's like we went through boot camp.
Yeah.
Going through our internship. You have your good supervisors, you have your bad supervisors, but everybody, when I look back, when I became a clinical supervisor, I was encouraged to look back at the good and the bad because you learn from the bad as well. One of my really good supervisors who I value brought me in one day and I was just feeling like a failure. My clients were just like not wanting to talk, not engaging. My group's kind of flopped. I was like,
super fun days.
yeah, just super fun day. I was just, enjoying life at this point. I'm like, what am I even doing? Brought me in and was like, listen, life it gives you your lesson first. Mm-hmm. Or no, I'm sorry. Turn that around. Life gives you your final first. It gives you the test.
Okay. And
that test, you can pass or fail. So you pass and you just go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, hey, okay, good job. You fail, and then you have to take the lesson.
Yeah.
You have to look at the lesson. You have to review the lesson of, okay, what didn't I get here? What am I missing? What is wrong?
Yeah.
And so he explained it as life is actually in reverse. Mm-hmm. The test, then the lesson. So those of us that can look at that, okay, I passed that test, oops, failed. Here's the lesson. What do I need to learn? Those of us that can look at that, we actually gain more from the failure in that.
Yeah.
Because then you can pick yourself up and you can go, okay, my clients weren't talking because I wasn't asking the right questions.
Yeah.
My groups failed because my topic was way off. Like no one could engage with that, right?
Or didn't want to,
didn't feel safe, didn't really know me, so that was again like an indicator of like me getting into that initial session, those first couple sessions, and just really getting to know that person, gaining a history, building a relationship, me going into that group and really just, using that time as a process, not as like, okay, I'm going to teach you all of this fun stuff.
In the 55 minutes that we're here.
Right. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
After they've been working and doing their day all day
They're
long.
Like, holy
oh,
shit.
God, man, let's just wrap it up. All we want to do is
class again?
Right? So it really gave me an opportunity to kind of process.
Yeah.
To grieve what had happened that day, that, oh shit, I was just a failure. Okay, Christy, yeah, you were. And it gave me the opportunity to reflect, reframe, and to build a little resilience.
Yeah.
I had to. It was my job to go back in there. Mm-hmm. I couldn't just be like, okay, well, I'm done. Bye.
Not doing that again.
A big part of that, too, of failing being a part of learning, is it teaches us how to problem solve through creativity. Mm-hmm. Teaches us how to use critical thinking skills. And those are things that, like, once we step back and we go through that processing.
Yeah.
We can look at it, like I said, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm rushing this. Like I have 6 months with these people.
Yeah.
Why am I trying to do all of this in like a minute and a half?
Yeah. Why are we trying to read all the chapters right now?
Why? And so when I slowed down the process, there was my being creative. When I used critical thinking in like how I connect with them a little bit more, there was there was the process. There was me reflecting, reframing, taking that failure and learning.
Yeah.
And now that's me with like school and
That
internship.
could be applied to anything.
Exactly. And
'Cause
that's
I find that in photography as well.
really why.
Because there's been, I mean, I picked up my first camera in 2019, and I didn't know crap, and so I always set out to learn by myself how to do stuff, and so there's a lot of times like I can't remember the first time. I mean, the first time I was ever like actually paid for something was like a model shoot. Someone I knew, and they're like, "Yeah, I want to pay you for this." I was like, "Cool." I was super unprepared. To myself, this is why I talked about social media, is because social media tells you need to have all this equipment to succeed. And I was like, well, shit, I don't have the money for all of this. I don't have the time to learn all of these. Because that's another thing, too. Once you have the equipment, it's now time that you have to put in to learn the equipment. It's not just having it. So I was like, crap, I'm getting paid for this job. I don't really, like, I can apply what I know to it, which is not a lot. I was like, but I don't have all this equipment. And then turns out I edit all the pictures, I send it over, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I don't think I did that great of a job. But then they're like, oh my God, this was amazing. He even got offered something and blah, blah, blah. I was like, holy crap, I'm pretty good at this. So then I keep going and I keep doing stuff. And then I do my first ever wedding. And there was even things during the first ever wedding that I was like, okay, I'm more prepared. I have an extra camera. I rented an extra camera. I have equipment. But then there's stuff that I'm running into to where I'm like, oh crap, I didn't think about having like what type of background for these pictures or something like that. And you always are learning from it. And so I'm always taking away something from past photo shoots or past events and applying it somehow into the next one. Something I suck at is modeling people, is how to tell people how to stand or whatever. So I was like, well, I'm just going to print stuff out, little pictures of other previous models, and go off of that so that I'm not thinking on the whim of it. Or the first time I took pictures for Fresno Pacific, I still look back at those pictures and I was like, God damn it, Micah. Because I took pictures of all of the people that were there. And right in front of it is this big drain that I just never edited out. And I look back at those and I'm like, oh God, that could have been such a good picture, but there's this big ass drain sitting in front of everyone that I sent to them. And I look back and I'm like, well, now I know to take my time a little bit more with editing, and rather than just trying to rush the process, just be engulfed in it. And so that's why when you're bringing up all of your, well, crap, people aren't talking to me, people aren't engaging, a lot of it has to do with kind of have to just enjoy the failure when it's happening, rather than being stressed out about it. And because at the end of the day, you're gonna learn something from it. No matter if it's the smallest little minor thing of like, oh my God, I should have brought an extra SD card, or I should have probably wrote a few more notes to have talking points on, or I should have brought an extra battery or something. It's always nice to enjoy the failures when they're happening, so that when you look back at it, you're like, remember that one time I forgot that drain in front of the big ass group picture?
That was fun.
That was great. Never doing that again, because I learned from it.
Well, and to that point, you sound like you provided yourself feedback.
Yeah.
Because feedback can be useful. And that's, again, when we are afraid of failure, we're afraid of that feedback. And that's one of the things that, like, sitting in a therapy session, I do this. I take notes. I take notes about everything. I take notes of what this person's talking about. I'll go, okay, back here. And I'll lead them back so we can reflect and we can focus on that, because I'll notice certain things of like when they start talking about an emotion or a feeling or something that pertains to that failure or that trauma or that situation, that anxiety. And I want them to hear their feedback. I want them to hear them process that while I give validating feedback, or I give not corrective, that's wrong, constructive feedback, because again, I'm hearing something different than that person, than other people they've talked to in their life. I'm hearing it for the first time, or I'm hearing it from a therapeutic standpoint where, okay, I want to hear about that. Okay, but when you said that, what were you thinking at that time? Well, I wasn't thinking, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but today when you can look back at that, what could you have said? Oh, well, I could have said this. Okay, but that's coming from a point where now you're reflecting back, and now you've grown a little bit. You've looked at that. Or another thing that I deal with failure is people talk about when they've gone through a traumatic experience, or they've gone through, a life-changing experience, an adjustment period.
Yeah.
And they don't like the way they handled that, or they focus on that being, so bad, or how I handled that, or how I talked, or how I dealt with that. I was using substances, or I was, I became depressed.
Yeah.
One of the things that I try to encourage people to understand is to look at that as, yeah, we may have felt like a failure in that, but there was a survival that went into that.
Yeah.
We were surviving that trauma, that situation, that depression, that really strong emotion. And the way we survive things is sometimes we do a fight or flight.
Yeah.
We do fight, flight, or freeze, and we may not handle it picture perfect, textbook perfect. But is there the right way to handle when you're experiencing that?
Yeah, when you're using, or when you're
experiencing a trauma,
experiencing some type of trauma,
a depression, a situation that is abnormal, is there the right way to handle it? And us going, oh, well, I failed how?
Yeah.
Like, you handled
it. No one
it.
has a textbook of how you should handle failures, or things you'll learn from failures,
or situations in general. Like, there's no right way that you should have handled that situation. You handled it the way you did. Now, when we look back at it, I can look at it as, oh, I failed. Did you really fail because you're sitting here today?
Yeah.
Did you really fail because you're talking about it and you're processing it today?
Yeah.
So is that a failure? In my mind, it's not.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's a resilience. It's I want to do better.
Yeah.
There's a desire there. And when we have that desire, when we reach out for help, when we're looking for a solution to this problem, that is not a failure. I can look at that as like, okay, I don't exactly know the right way to reach success,
but I'll figure out a way to get there.
But I'm going to figure it out by talking about it, by learning some new coping skills, by learning some healthier coping skills.
Doing
because
something.
Let's just be honest. Going back to the drink or the drug or the just outright outrageous behavior, that is not the right way to handle that. But going and handling it in a different way. Oh, here he comes.
Here comes Finn again.
All right. He knows that if he is outright loud and obnoxious, he's going to get some attention. That might not be the right way. I know. And he never fails. He never fails to get attention. Come here. So I encourage people, when we look at things like that we failed at, did you really fail, or do you have the opportunity to learn a different way to approach that?
Yeah.
And as I was putting this little thought together, I thought about a conversation you and I had when you were younger. You and your dad had gotten into it. You may remember this. And you came home because you were every other week with me. Mm-hmm. And you were just angry. I mean, you were like seeing red. And I set you down and you did not like the way that you had handled it. You didn't like the way that your dad had handled it. I don't know if you considered it a complete failure on your part or his part. I don't remember that. But the conversation that we had was, I wanted to calm you down a little bit. I wanted to slow down your thinking. And I asked you, do you see your dad, or I need you to see your dad as a brick wall?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this conversation?
No.
I need you to see. Great. I'm
learning this for the first time.
There we go again. The forgetfulness. That's great. I'm so glad that all my lessons of life have just, resonated with you and stuck with you, Micah. So I said,
for the most part, they have, but let's reiterate what's going on.
I am going
here.
to, yeah, because I remember this because, putting this together.
I totally remember this. Yeah, go ahead.
Stop. So I said, I need you to visualize your dad as a brick wall. Now, you keep doing the same thing over and over. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're so upset. Because there was a failure in doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. We all know that that's the definition of insanity, right? It's also a component of failure. Mm-hmm. If I'm doing the same thing over and over and I'm expecting a different result, I'm going to fail every single time.
You're going to keep failing.
So I said to you, here's your brick wall. How do you overcome that? How do you manage going around it? What is a different way of approaching this? And there was your creativity. You started brainstorming. I do keep doing the same thing over and over. Here's what I need to do. Here's how I need to say it. Mm-hmm. And so we practiced. And I said, that to me sounds a lot more thoughtful, like you've put a lot more processing and a solution. There's a resolution that you want. There's you're coming to him with like, okay, here's what I want.
Yeah.
Here's how I need to get it. You've already solved the problem. You're just needing him to buy him on.
Yeah.
And I want to say that you went back the following week and you're like so excited that like there was like some achievement there. Mm-hmm. You had actually like appealed to your dad in a different way than what you had been doing over and over. So you learned from that failure.
Yeah. I will say I don't remember this, but I do take a lot of the brick wall thinking nowadays. Is a lot with like Sarah's family or with my family, or I'll have someone come to me and they'll be like, well, I tried doing this and this and this. And I was like, have you tried doing it before? And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, maybe that's the problem, is that you're talking to this person about the same thing over and over, expecting something, and you're talking to a brick wall about something.
Oh my God. So my brick wall stuck with you. Okay. As long as one thing that I've said in your entire life sticks with you, it's brick wall. All right. Woo.
But no, it's something that I live a lot by, is that I'm like, listen, if I'm talking to someone about something I'm passionate about, or something that is helpful to me, or something in my life to another person that I hope to kind of, proceed going on with the conversation with, and they are just continuously not getting it, I'm just not gonna. There are times where I'm just like, you know what? It's either one, they don't care, and I should try something else. And there are times where I do try something else, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's them and not me. So then I'm like, maybe I'm just not going to talk about that ever again to that person, because I'm not getting through that brick wall.
And are you seeing that as a failure, or are you seeing that as like, I was creative in a couple different places and it just didn't resonate, so I'm moving on?
It's that.
So
it happens a lot at work too, where a machine messes up, and I know all the different ways of fixing the machine. And there are times where I'm like, okay, well, I tried 7 million different things on how to fix this. I'm done. Moving on to the next thing. And someone comes by and they're like, well, have you tried this? Yes, I have tried that. Well, have you tried this? Yes, I have tried that. And before you even ask me all the other 60,000 million things that you're going to ask me if I've tried, I have tried those also. I was like, take a crack at it, because I have taken multiple and I'm done with it. And I did that to one of our big printers. And I was like, listen, this second roll, I've tried everything. I'm done. And they're like, oh, okay. They didn't ask me if I've tried anything else, because they knew. I was going to say, yes, I did. And then a few weeks later, I came back, and that roll was working again. because I took a step away from it and I was like, you guys now go try it, because I'm no longer bashing my head against this wall
Mm-hmm.
in different areas of the wall, because I'm done.
And there's the part of learning.
Yeah.
I've learned now that sometimes I've just got to step away. I've learned that I've tried A, B, and C. Nothing's working. I'm going to let someone else try X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's not you failing. It's you learning from that situation. You learning, okay, none of my problem solving skills worked here. I was not creative enough. However creative I am, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And that's not a failure. It's just learning that sometimes we do overexert ourselves in the fact that I know I'm right. I know I'm right. I'm right.
What's the word? Fixated?
Fixated.
Fixated on one thing.
Yeah.
And trying to make it work when it's either that one thing is never going to work and you're just hoping to God or someone that it will work, or it's you're just wanting it so bad to work and you're just not, you're trying to do it over and over again and you're not trying to do other different ways of how to go about it.
There's where the creativity comes in.
Yeah.
And that takes me back to
Who did the light bulb? Who made the light bulb?
Edison.
Edison. You think he tried the same thing over and over again?
I read that he tried 1,000 times.
Yeah.
That's
That's what I'm
1,000
saying.
different
But
times.
you're saying that he did that 1,000 times?
One time.
Over and over and over. No, he tried. I'm pretty sure he probably tried like maybe once or twice and then was like, okay, let's try another thing. He tried that probably once and I was like, well, that's definitely not it. Tried a different. He tried that 1,000 times and got it eventually.
Exactly. And so why we think we're going to try this one technique one time
And it's going to work.
and solve all the problems? No.
I think that's what a lot of people think, though. And that's
It
why
is.
social media comes into it. It's because, like, okay, this person, they did this one time and they're successful. That means I'm going to do this one time and be successful. It's like, no. You're not looking at the other person's history or
all the
what
edits and
or
all
what
the
he built to get to that point.
Yeah.
Or all of this other stuff. Like, for example, there's two directors right now who are YouTubers.
Mhm.
And I want to say last year or 2 years ago, they came out with a horror movie called Talk to Me. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have not.
It was one of the best horror movies of the year. And these YouTubers, all throughout their career, were very creative. They're called like Raka Raka.
Is it a like slasher horror movie
Nope.
or is it like a psychological? Because I don't like
Psychological
the
a
ones.
little
Okay,
bit.
then yeah, I have not seen that, and I'm surprised.
And for all throughout their YouTube, they tried to push the boundaries of what they can do. There's these stuntmen, and they always did these ridiculous videos. They did like McDonald's versus Burger King, and like fighting, and they're like trashing the house or whatever. But the thing is they did all of these years through YouTubers or being YouTubers, growing their fans, growing all like learning all how to actually make good videos. It came time to where months went by, a year went by, and they're like, what are these people doing? And finally, it came out that they were making a movie. They were able to go out, raise funds to make a movie that they've wanted to make for quite some time. They made it. It got bought by A24.
Oh, I like A24.
Yeah, got bought by A24, and they released it, and it was one of the best horror movies of the year.
Then I've probably seen it if it's an A24.
Probably.
Talk to me.
But that's what it is
Sounds like what I do. Talk to me.
Some people may just see that
Yeah.
movie and they'd be like, oh, well, those directors, they probably don't know that they were YouTubers. And they were just like, oh my God, well, they got it bought from A24. What did they do that made
all
them
these
successful?
years
And
of
it's like, hello, this was not their first try.
no, they've been trying for years.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a long time.
Well, and that's what I tell people, like when we're talking about communication skills or, regulating emotions, that's another one. And I use this in DBT. I promote wise mind skills quite a bit because that's how you regulate your emotions with your emotional and rational mind.
Mhm.
And I let people know, listen, I've been doing this for years and I'm still working on it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out stuff.
I let people know that I'm human. I fail at communicating at least once a day.
Yeah.
I fail
No
at
one's perfect.
I failed at regulating my emotions with Mr. Finnegan yesterday. I thought I was going to drown him with the squirt bottle. Let's just say. He and I got over it. We made up. I fed him a
He's
nice...
fine. He's alive. You're alive.
I fed him a nice, good dinner with, lots of snacks. But I fail.
Mhm.
And then what do I learn about it? He's a cat. he needs attention. Like, I'm home all day. What else? Hey, my mom's home. She needs to pay attention to me. Communicating. I communicate a completely different way than your stepdad. I take time to process. I need to step back. I need to remove myself. I have to go through all the emotions, the thoughts that he just talks about it and he's over it. I've had to learn my process is different than him. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just
different.
means it's different, and I have to do that for myself. If I skip a step, I'm failing.
Yeah.
Why am I failing? Because I didn't do what I know works for me.
Yeah.
And so again, we're human. These things, these skills, these techniques, learning all of this takes time. It takes sitting down. And I'm glad that you said that about those directors, because I want people to know therapy isn't just going and talking once or twice. It's building that relationship with that therapist so that they can feel comfortable enough to go, hey, hold on. You did that?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, I would have taken that wrong too. I have a relationship like that with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that I've had long term, I can be honest and direct with them, and they know that I'm there for their best interest. I'm only pointing that out because that's why we need to work on this a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's why you're talking to me and not that person, because if you would have said that to that person, oh God.
Yeah.
I'd rather people talk to me like that. And that's the thing is we need to learn in successes, there are failures. In life, there is failures. That doesn't mean I'm a failure.
Yeah.
It means I failed it once. I'm going to have to do it again, and I'm going to have to do it different. I'm going to have to get creative here. Just like the Edison. Thank God, because I like having lights.
I like having electricity.
I do. Well, it was light bulbs, right?
Yeah, but that led to electricity.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm not a historian, so I don't.
It
just
was
know.
first the light bulb and then electricity.
Because there was the lightning, the key, the whole thing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
All right. That was him, right?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
I just brought Edison into it because it's famous. Everyone
The
knows
light
it.
bulb, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, like when I look at things and I hear people say, oh, I've had multiple people, because when working with addictions, this is, kind of the mask that they put on. Oh, I'm a piece of shit. Okay, hold on. Now, and if you've worked with me as one of my clients, you know that I'm going to reframe that, because are you a piece of shit?
Yeah.
Can I walk over there and scoop you up, throw you away?
Mm-hmm.
No. You may have done something shitty, yes.
Yeah.
But you are not a piece of shit. That, again, is like them putting on that failure hat. Oh, I'm such a piece of shit. Well, if you look at yourself that way, and if you talk to yourself like that, then yeah, you're constantly going to be...
You're going to constantly think that.
You're going to constantly
but
think
you're here. We're going to try to address...
But if you start putting in that narrative that, you know what, yeah, listen, I did something shitty. I can validate that.
Yeah.
I can...
You can look at your failures and be like, that happened. Let's go ahead and try to build off of that failure, to be successful.
Well, you did this shitty thing. Now, how do you do something that's not as shitty?
Yeah.
How do you do something that's less shitty? Because we're always going to do shitty things.
Yeah.
We just are. We're human. So when I hear someone say that, and I've heard it a lot throughout my career, I stop them and I give them that analogy. And of course they laugh and well, of course I'm not, Chrissy. No. Of course. Because you're human.
Mm-hmm.
We do shitty things. How do you do something less shitty?
Yeah.
How do you
be less shitty?
Be less shitty. How do you make progress from the less shitty?
Yeah.
From the more shitty to the less shitty.
Listen, shit comes out of us every day.
It's a daily thing.
It's a daily thing.
It's
just a matter of what you do with the shit.
a matter of what you do with it.
Yeah.
And again, I want people to make progress, but I also need them to start with that narrative that, yeah, I failed here. What can I do better? How can I do this better? What can I do different?
Yeah.
And yesterday, I will have to say, I have been working with this client, and this person gave me a very good report, and was, is feeling more confident, feeling more self-aware, and really feels good about their self. And I was like, right there, that's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And all those therapy sessions have been is us talking.
Yep.
And me being the validating person, me pointing out just exactly what I said. In trauma, we are going to fail or feel like we failed. But when we look back in trauma, what did we do? We did what we needed to do to survive.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily a failure, you're a survivor. So when I start to flip that narrative, and that person can start to flip that narrative, there's the growth.
Yeah.
Because this person said that to me yesterday. And I was like, right there.
There it is.
There it is. We got some success. We've got some growth.
Yeah.
And now there are times that I get like hit in the feels.
Yeah.
That shit hits me in the feels. When I get a client that makes that kind of statement about themselves, I'm like, ooh,
You're like, ooh.
that's why I do what I do,
That's
y'all.
what this is all about.
I want you to say that about yourself.
Yep.
Because that means I have taken my failures, I've learned from them, and now I'm seeing them completely different. I'm seeing them as lessons in life.
Failure is shitty, but it's a matter of what you do with the shit.
Okay, that's how you took that. But I do like the fact that you caught on to the brick wall thing. I'm pretty proud about that one right
Do you
now.
take the shit and you smear it across the brick wall?
Oh, God.
Or do you take the shit and you throw it at the brick wall? All creative ways.
All creative ways.
It's just a matter of what you do with the shit.
But to wrap this up, let me get back to my little note here. Failure is part of learning. And that doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you failed at that. What can you learn? What are the opportunities? What did you miss? Life gives you the final. Pass or fail. If you fail, here comes the lesson. Be prepared. Prepare yourself.
If you eat M&Ms or Skittles and then you shit and it's rainbow.
What is it with you? Like,
Yeah, I don't know. It's the shit that.
I shouldn't even have brought up.
You poop rainbows. Maybe you shouldn't eat M&Ms or rainbow or Skittles
Or anything with like fake coloring in
or
it.
anything with that.
Because
But it's a matter of what you do with the shit afterwards.
I would just say flush it. I would just say flush it, move on.
You could do that too.
Eat the M&Ms again.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm about the M&Ms. Those are mine. That's my go-to.
Well, failure is everywhere.
Failure's a bag of M&Ms.
Failure is a bag of M&Ms that leads to shit that you just don't know what to do with.
All right. Well, I've just about had it with you. I wanted you to pick up on the lesson that was in failure, but
I think I did. I took it a different direction.
You did take it a different direction, and I'm going to reel it back because I thought I had a really good ending.
No, you did. You have a really good ending. It's just I'm adding on to it.
Okay. All right.
Whether it's a good add-on or addition
I don't
or
even
bad,
know. I don't even know.
that's up to the listener's perception.
It is. It really is. So, if something that we said today just really sticks with you, whether it's the analogy of the shit and the brick wall and the M&Ms and the whatever. I don't even know anymore. I'm lost. Failure is a part of learning. That's all I'm going to say. And in learning, there has to be this vulnerability. Bring that to your therapist. Let your therapist work with that. Let your therapist be honest enough with you to tell you, maybe you are full of shit. But maybe that shit wasn't your fault. What can you learn from that?
Maybe it was the M&M's fault.
Maybe it was the M&M's fault.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Listen, subscribe, like, follow my Instagram page, My Therapy Hat. And thank you for listening.
Bye.